and welcome to another episode of the Bella Grace podcast, where we are helping high achievers break free from mindsets, behaviors, and addictions that are holding them back. And this week, we are doing that by talking to my new friend, Andreya. It's Andreya, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And we were just talking about names. And so Andrea is a owner of Tone for Life Academy. She is a chief menopause specialist. She is a busy mom of 5 boys. Oh my goodness. A wife and a full time entrepreneur. She has built multiple body coaching businesses from the ground up. Over the years, she has helped countless women struggling with the challenges of menopause, from weight loss to hormonal imbalances. Oh my goodness. And women who feel trapped in their own, and oh my gosh, it cut it off. What? So finish it. They feel trapped in their own what?
In their own bodies, like they just don't feel like their self. And so how to kind of get back, navigate that whole issue. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For whatever reason, it cut off the rest of it. And I'm like, oh, I can't read the rest of it. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here as a millennial. I am nearing this phase of life. And so I was really excited when we connected to get to talk to you, get to know you, and to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey to get you where you are today, and yeah, who are you? What do you tell us how you got here?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in, South Minneapolis, small, area of Minneapolis in the city. And basically, got to be around 16, had my first son, and kind of all the flags were, and, everyone was like, gosh, if you have a baby so young, you're never going to travel. You're going to be overweight for your whole life. You're not going to feel good. And so I was pretty hell bent on proving everyone wrong. So for many years, I, learned how to take care of my body, how to strength train in my 20s and 30s. But I hit 40 and things were a lot different. I owned a gym. I started to lose my 6 pack abs and I was doing everything the same. And so that kind of brought me to understanding hormones better, and understanding how to navigate that path with women, that it's not just calories in, calories out. There's inflammation, there's cortisol, there's all kinds of different things that could be going on. So that looking at labs, biofeedback, we can make an individualized plan for somebody who really wants to get to the root cause and move past this. So I created my own online company after selling my gym after 10 years, just because I wanted to do better. I felt like that's what women deserve. And so now we're branching out into working with women in their 20s and 30s, but more with like PCOS, or they have an IUD, or they've had a baby and things just aren't coming back the way they want them to. And then we go into perimenopause and menopause solutions as well.
I feel like so many of us walk through life thinking that our weight issues are related to our eating habits, or this or that, and we don't really take a good look at our hormones and how much our hormones are affecting us. And I recently started my own health journey, and I started it because I dementia, Alzheimer's runs in my family. And so I really wanted to make sure that I'm taking care of my brain. And I know the connection between the gut and the brain is a really powerful one. And so that was why I started out on this health journey. I started working with a dietitian, and she did what you were talking about, the lab work, like looking holistically at my life. And at one point, I told her it wasn't even like top of mind. It was just an afterthought. And I think we were talking about scheduling. And I said, well, I will be on my period that week. And so I am always like, I have really heavy periods. And she was like, tell me about that. And so we started digging into it. And I she altered my diet just a little bit, and she was like, "I really think it has to do with your hormones. It sounds like you are in a hormone imbalance." And so I've really changed the way that I'm eating, and it has helped with my menstrual cycle. Like, it has helped regulate it. I'm seeing an improvement. Normally, on my heavy day, I can't even leave the house because I'm having to change so often, and my cramps are so bad. And I just want to like curl up and die and cry all day. And I'm nauseous to the point of like not even being able to get out of bed because the pain is so bad. And a lot of that has changed. But I never thought about it because I don't think that mainstream media, mainstream education, mainstream medicine teaches us those things. And like you, we creep up in our years. Like, I'm turning 40 in June. And I'm like, okay, I can feel the changes happening, but it can make you feel like not yourself. It like it is, and I hate it. It makes you feel uncomfortable. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel like you're in your own body anymore. Things are changing, things are moving.
Yes. Yeah, it's very not fair, and it's just the way our body works. But yeah, I think, well, and one of the reasons that I found that practitioners usually don't know what to do or how to teach us how to work with our hormones, including like our OBs, is they literally have gotten like 8 hours of training on like hormones and nutrition, and like they don't even understand a woman's cycle, that the first part of the month, like we have more estrogen. And so the first 2 weeks, you can have more carbs, you can do harder workouts. Like, you can actually time your cycle, like with your workouts, with your nutrition. And then the ending part, the last 2 weeks, we have hardly any estrogen because that goes down and the progesterone rises. So then that's kind of like our introverted sister. Like, she keeps everything kind of at bay, but she just doesn't deal with stress well. So that's when you like lower your carbs, you take down your workouts, and women's bodies do a lot better that way. But like, they just kind of model things after men, and like men have just this even keel. That's why they lose weight easier. That's why they build muscle faster. Like, they just stop drinking beer or eating chips and they lose weight. And as women, we're like doing 10 million things and we lose a pound. And so I think it's the expectation, but our health practitioners just don't even really understand nutrition, exercise, stress, and how hormones play into that. And so that's kind of where I've done all my studying the last 10 years, is just, what does that look like? How is it different? How can I help women understand it better so then they can change their expectations and do the right things and prioritize? But our OBs just don't really know, and they just kind of can give things for symptoms. So they'll give you birth control, or they'll say, well, let's try this IUD. Or even now we've got HRT, which is good, but it's not going to really get to the root cause, if you will.
Yeah, and what's HRT?
So HRT is hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do patches or pills or that kind of thing. Even low dose peptides like GLPs are getting all these negative reviews because doctors aren't trained on dosages, how to do it so people don't have terrible side effects. But actually is a really good thing if you understand women's hormones, how it can help facilitate weight loss without side effects when you do a really low dose and customize it with nutrition and exercise. It can be amazing, but they have so little time, and they just don't have enough time to do that kind of coaching. They can just give you a script and say, well, take this, see ya. And that doesn't really work when you don't put in lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important piece because I think too much of what we do is compartmentalized. We handle our body in silos. We see a therapist for our mental health. We see an OB for our our reproductive health. We see a cardiologist for our heart health. We see a dietitian because we might want to lose weight or get healthier. And then we see someone else for this, someone else for that. And everything is in a silo, and we don't necessarily have all of these teams communicating. But that's really how we should be approaching our health, is from a holistic standpoint of like, it's not just, okay, let me put a band-aid on these symptoms. It's what's the root cause? What is causing these symptoms? Is it hormones? Is it environment? Like, what's happening? And how can we best serve you to get you to a place where you are happy, healthy, and feeling good? Um, with my own periods, my doctor was like, well, yeah, it's not uncommon, but it's not normal. And I was like,
What?
what? She's like, yeah, lots of women deal with this. She's like, lots of women have really bad periods. It's actually really common, but it's not normal. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do about it? And she was like, well, we can put you on birth control and it'll regulate your periods and it'll make them lighter. And I said, no, I've tried that before, and it actually made it worse. And I was bleeding for 3 weeks out of the month, and I would have 1 week where I was off of my period. I said, and then birth control gave me blood clots. And so I was like, I'm high risk for birth control. So I haven't been on birth control in years. Years. Like, my daughter is 18, and I probably went off of birth control when she was 6 or 7.
Mhm.
And because I can't, I've tried every kind out there. They all make me sick. They all make me have like crazy periods. They don't help with my actual flow. And so I decided to take things into my own hands and really try to figure out like what works for me. And it is a lot of what you're saying, like really understanding your cycle and how your food plays into that. And you mentioned like taking on more carbs at certain times and doing more workouts at certain times. My daughter was in wrestling in high school. And I used to tell her, I'm like, it is really hard because she would get down on herself, like really, really down on herself when she didn't make weight. Because in wrestling, you have to hit a certain, like if you're wrestling in the 107 weight class, you have to weigh 107 on the dot, not an ounce over, or you have to be under in order to be eligible to wrestle.
Mhm.
And when a girl is on her period or in certain parts of her cycle, she's going to be retaining more fluid, and it is going to be harder to lose the weight or to like maintain an exact weight. And she would get very down on herself. And I told her, I said, it's unfortunate that we're not taught this in school. We're not taught in our health education classes about how hormones work. And you have two guy coaches who also don't understand the female reproductive system or their hormones and their menstrual cycles. So they're asking you, like, why didn't you make weight? And it's because of the time of the month.
Right. And then performance based. And then if you're, I mean, I can just think of so many things because carbohydrate means hydration. So, like, that's the end of the word. And so, basically, like, your scale weight is going to be up because you're more hydrated if you have carbs. And if you're going to wrestle, you need the glycogen from the carbs to perform. What a nightmare. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to hit this weight because the water weight, but then so carbs aren't really your friend there. But it's like it just makes no sense as far as like performance and how if you have your period, you're right, you're retaining more water. It's water weight, 100%. So that's not going to really impact the sport, but they have such an archaic way of like making this whole thing complicated. And then the shame base for your daughter of like, I didn't do good. I wasn't a good girl. You know what I mean? She's like, think of all the, oh my God. Yeah, that's got to be
Yeah.
really difficult for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really grateful. Like, I love the sport. It's a great sport. It teaches discipline. It teaches confidence. It teaches a lot. Like, it's it requires a lot of courage to get out there on the mat in front of all your classmates and all of the other coaches and teams and potentially get your butt kicked and then have to get up and do it again. It teaches you a lot. It's a good sport. But at the end of when she was done, I was like, thank God, because it was so stressful every single season because she was not eating, kind of like I know a lot of women do this. They are wanting to lose weight. So they go into like fasting and not eating and calorie reduction. And I kept trying to tell her, I'm like, your body is in fight or flight mode because it thinks that you are going to starve it. And so it is holding on to every single calorie that you have. And you're so stressed out with cutting weight that you are just full of cortisol. I'm like, your cortisol levels are probably through the roof right now. And your body is not going to let go of a single ounce when you are in that mode.
Yeah, that's
And
a good point. Honestly, I feel like I also want to commend your daughter for doing wrestling. I was in Taekwondo, for years, became a black belt, and it's amazing. So, I mean, I just think everything needs to kind of catch up because girls, we do everything boys do, if not even better now, but they're just not kind of honed into, what we're doing with our sex hormones that make a difference. And like you said, the inflammation, from cortisol, like cortisol is good because it gets rid of inflammation, but also it increases weight and things too. If you think of a pimple, it's going to be, you've got to get rid of it, pop it, decrease it before you can see the pore again. It's the same thing with cortisol, goes up to decrease all of that, but the water goes up to protect, so that can increase scale weight. So yeah, I just think hopefully we'll be doing more like precise levels. And then back to your saying about the birth control, same, like they're just trying to regulate hormones to get, but it's kind of like throwing something at the wall to see what's going to stick versus like, well, why can't we test your hormones in a 24-hour cycle and get an idea? So I think that's more where things are headed, but they're just definitely not caught up yet. I mean, we're pretty far behind.
yeah. Yeah, so what does it look like? Like when you start seeing a client, what does that look like? Like where are they when they come to you typically and where do you help them get?
Yeah, typically we're attracting people who want weight loss. Like that is they've gained belly fat, and then we start digging. It's kind of like the layers of the onion. I do a diagnostic call. We talk about, oh yeah, my sleep's really impacted. Oh yeah, I had this stress 2 years ago. Oh, I guess that's when that all kind of, so we just start, digging into biofeedback. And then from there, we look at I order them a test that goes to their home, and it's a 24-hour dry urine test, typically the Dutch hormone test. And that takes about 4 weeks to get back. And in the meanwhile, we start working with them on eliminating some foods that might be causing inflammation. And it's not something we want them to do forever, but we start to kind of symptom track and see how they feel. And then at about like week 4 or 5, we look at the Dutch, we look at what they've eliminated, how they're doing. A lot of women lose a lot of inches and feel better right away. Others, we just get a much more strategized, customized approach at that point with supplementation. We could recommend peptides, maybe recommend hormone replacement therapy. And so we combine it all, that we're their therapist, their personal trainer, their dietitian, and their endocrinologist all in one to make sure that everything they're doing is going to support these priorities we see.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because yeah, all the pieces, right? Like all the little pieces. Because again, and I think I got sidetracked, but like going back to belly fat, inflammation, joint pain, gas, and like just constipation or the opposite, runny bowels. Like, I think so many of us deal with those issues. And we have just gotten to where we are like, oh, this is normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's very common, but we don't talk about it, right? Like, this is a very taboo. You don't talk about it at dinner. You don't talk about it like in mixed company. You're not going to talk about the fact that, like, oh, I have tummy issues in front of, like, random dinner guests. My girlfriends and I make it a point to actually talk about digestive and like sexual, like the intimate parts, of like our menstrual cycle and just what we got going on, because I think for so long female anatomy and female health has been so taboo. Like, girls don't fart, girls don't poop.
No, they don't sweat, they glisten. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I love that. Like I said, in my next life, I'm going to be a sex therapist because I just don't know why more people don't talk about it and enjoy it and understand it. And there's so many moving parts with that. But then taboo, we're not to talk about it, but we all do it. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it is. And so, like, I this is why I was like, okay, I want to have you on because we need to talk about this. We need to, like, let's take the lid off of the box. Let's let the genie out of the bottle. Hormones are real. And it is common to not feel comfortable in your own body, but it is not normal. Like, we need to unnormalize that. And we need to like unnormalize the idea that it's just normal to turn 40 and suddenly like you've got a muffin top and you have no more muscle definition, and that's just part of getting old, right? Like, that's we should not think that way. And we need to peel back the layers of the onion, like you were saying, and like what is really going on here. Because as we age, we are also maybe caring for our parents. Our parents may be sick. Our parents they're aging themselves. And unfortunately, especially in the US, our dietary decisions and regulations have probably gotten us into this situation that we find ourselves in, where we have increased heart issues, increased dementia, increased Alzheimer's, diabetes, like all these things that we're all dealing with, and just say, hey, it's part of getting old.
Right. No, and like you had mentioned, Alzheimer's. So the brain is mainly fat, right? So like any kind of toxin typically will hang out in your fat cells going up to the brain, and so that has really interested me lately because people will say I'm doing a detox, but it's like, well, but if you don't turn those fat soluble toxins into water soluble so your body can take it out, like bind with it to pull it out, you're really not detoxing. So it's so interesting. Like you can get rid of I mean, I don't know for sure if we can get rid of plastic. I'm sorry to say it is really here to stay. Like, I can't believe all the things that touch my body then go into my body with plastic now. But we can get rid of, other things by doing like a glutathione, which is a very cheap fat soluble, turns your toxins water soluble, but you have to be excreting, pooping, peeing, and so to facilitate that. But um, it starts now, like it starts at any age, and all of that I think is kind of what's progressing into Alzheimer's. But it's hard to talk to someone in their 30s about Alzheimer's because it's a ways off. But I can guarantee you when you get there, you don't want to be there. You're not going to want.
Yeah. And I've had my grandmother passed away from it. I have a couple of aunts who have either had it or passed away from it. And so it is very important to me to take care of my brain health, because I've seen it is a horrible disease. Like, I've seen what it does not only to the person but to the family. Like, I I get it, and I want to, as much as I can, educate people on the little changes that we can make in our body and what we're doing to give ourselves, like, we're living longer than we have ever lived before. But we in the United States also spend more money on healthcare in the last, I think it's like 8 years of our lives than we do in our entire life. Like, that is baffling to me, and that is problematic.
Mhm.
Like, what are we doing, people?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And I think it's people like you and me and, like, just this community of people who are out there saying, "We're done. We're not gonna continue living this way, and here's how you can change what you're doing to ensure that you are living full years for as long as you can." Um, you said something about you have to be excreting, like, you have to be
Y-
pooping and peeing
Yeah.
and sweating. And I so I suffered with chronic constipation. I have a torturous bowel. So my large intestine is not smooth like other people's, or as smooth as other people's on the inside. Mine is like a bendy straw that has been bent way out of shape, like the ones that bend at an L and it's got the little ridges. Yeah, my colon is like that. So I have for years struggled with chronic constipation. And I since I started working with my dietitian, it's a lot better. And I since I have changed the way that I am eating, which has affected my hormones, which has affected, it's affected everything. But now I'm pooping regular, and this is TMI for the podcast, but we're talking about all the things. We're
Yeah.
talking about all the things. And I no longer have like breakouts on my face. My hormones are like regulated. Like, I don't bite my husband's head off nearly as much as I used to. So,
Wonderful. That's always helpful, right? And yeah, that's amazing stuff you just talked about. That's life-changing. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, what changes do your clients most regularly see?
Yeah, I would say a lot of what you're talking about. For the first thing that we try to really celebrate with them is they will see inches come off their stomach, off of their breast area, like basically kind of right away, but the scale isn't like plummeting down or anything because there's water weight, there's inflammation weight, things like that. But they will start to see their face changing, breast area, waist kind of immediately, and then we tap into energy because they're sleeping better, and they just feel calmer. And they also get that clear mind. And so we really try to celebrate that because it's like once that all kind of comes back into focus, then whatever long term goal they had kind of turns. And then we check on digestion. So then they also either they have like a little bit of leaky gut or Crohn's IBS, which is almost like type 3 or 4 kind of inflammation in the gut, or they're really constipated. So then we start getting that more regular. And those are all signs that things are starting to do well. And so I love that. And so that's kind of where it goes. Then they start in the fat loss acceleration stage, we call it, because then as a side effect of all those things coming into play, they start losing weight really, much faster, but not just weight, not muscle, like more body fat. So their body starts toning up, getting tighter. They start getting back into their clothes again. And then once they get to maintenance, we have the final process, which is basically helping them understand how to stay there, how to manage it. And we increase their food, which sounds so backwards, but we don't want to decrease someone's metabolism by, like you said, when it gets into fight or flight or it gets a really low amount, it will adjust. And so you have to adjust it back up. And that's really important for maintenance because if you don't, then yeah, that's why people lose weight and gain it back. So we don't put people on diets at all. We let them choose their own food. We guide them and we actually increase their portion sizes and they look so much better. So it's just kind of a total backwards than anything any like Weight Watchers or Optavia, like they're gonna market to you. That's just not the way it rolls. Like that is truly how you would change your body. And so as I've been a bodybuilder before, I've worked with bikini competitors, so fat loss and dietitian are kind of like together in our program. So they learn how to make new body composition and how to keep it.
Yeah. No, I'm actually in the maintenance slash exercise like fitness nutrition phase of my journey right now, because we did exactly what you're talking about. And it's like, okay, we did the elimination phase, right? Like we took out foods and then we slowly brought stuff back to see like how I felt with it. And so, like, because I had my gallbladder removed in 2015. And I was going to say this earlier when we were talking about this, but I had my gallbladder taken out in 2015. And I know there are lots of listeners who are going to be in a similar boat, whether it's your gallbladder or some other organ or surgery or procedure. But I had my gallbladder taken out, and they came in, they said, okay, the gallbladder's out. I had a non-functioning gallbladder, apparently, my entire life. Didn't know. I was always the kid who had an upset stomach. I was always the kid that was like, yeah, I don't want to eat that. Like, but I never knew why. I just knew that, like, no, I don't want that. Like, it made my tummy hurt before it's even in my stomach. But I didn't find out that I had a non-functioning gallbladder until I was probably 26 years old. And then it took them, I got my gallbladder out at 29. And so they came in the OR. My brother was a nurse at the time, and like even him and I have this conversation, but they come it back into the recovery room. They're like, okay, the gallbladder's out. You're good to go. Rest for 48 hours and then you're back to normal activity. That was it. They sent me home.
Oh my God.
No education on anything, like no follow up. My regular doctor was just like, how'd the surgery go? Let me check your incision. Okay, you're good to go. That was it. That was in 2015. It was not until this year, 10 years later, working with my dietitian, that I found out that the reason, because I told her, I said, I keep getting, like, I have this, I call it my phantom gallbladder. I was like, I still get like the pain under my side. When I eat certain foods, I was like, I can't eat eggs and I can't eat onions. Like certain things just like, it's like bile just shoots right through me and it's
Oh,
very
God.
painful. Like it hurts my stomach. I have to run to the bathroom. Like it's just, and she started like really looking at my food journal, and she was like, Teresa, you eat so much red meat. And I said, yeah, I grew up in Texas. Like that's what we do. We eat red meat. We eat pork and we eat beef. Like that's what we do. And she was like, as someone without a gallbladder, that's actually one of the worst things that you can be eating because it's very high in saturated fat. She's like, so I'm going to recommend that you only eat red meat like once a week max. And I'm like, okay. And as soon as I took the red meat out, like my phantom gallbladder pain is gone. I don't have like, it has affected me a lot, but I feel like so many people have procedures. They go in, they're like, okay, this is what's causing your problem. And then we have no education or follow up afterwards of
Right.
like, stay away from these foods, don't do this, don't do that. And so we did that elimination phase with my dietitian, and it was insane. Like I'm just now adding like avocado back in and like healthy oils to see how I feel with it. But then, so we took a bunch of stuff out. We kind of changed my plate so that it's, protein, veggies, starches. Like I did the peace sign plate, and then I did the like half veggies, half meat, or fourth meat, fourth carbs. But now we're in the like she wants me to bring my portion sizes back up because I've gotten to a place where she's like, "Okay, I don't want you losing any more weight. Like you could still lose more weight technically." She's like, "But I don't want you based on your like body structure and your, your height and everything." She's like, "We're going to stay right here." So she's actually like bringing my portions back up, which is what you said.
Yep. That's awesome.
And yeah, and adding in more water and electrolytes because I'm starting to train for a half marathon. So, like, increasing my protein, but educating me on which proteins so that I'm not hurting my lack of a gallbladder again. But it's backwards thinking. And I get asked by family all the time, "Well, what diet are you on?" And I'm like, "It's not a diet. It's just a different way of eating." And I actually eat 6 small meals a day because it's easier on my torturous bowel. And so it's easier for my body to process food. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, I actually eat all the time. And I'm like, I'm eating a lot of food. It sounds counterintuitive, but I am eating a lot of food. And they're like, "Well, you've dropped 20 pounds." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm not eating the processed crap. I'm not eating, the cookies and the cakes and the french fries, and I feel so much better."
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, there's also something called the MTHFR gene, like that. I want to say 1 out of 4 women have. And so it's not really even the gluten like that is hurting them. But it's the way they've processed the gluten and that gene when they interact, it causes a lot of inflammation. So that too, like I'm not even testing for MTHFR, but I'm like, let's remove gluten, see how you feel. And then when you add it back in, we'll see, can you tolerate certain forms? But it's just like you said, it's very customized. It's not like your girlfriend's lost 30 pounds, you do her diet. It's like, that's what we do though. We act like we should all be metabolic experts, women's health experts. It's like, I don't know, but we'll take our car to the mechanic as soon as there's an issue, no problem, and it's like, for women's bodies and for our health, like that's what we basically do. It's an investigative process that gets you off diets, that learns about your body specifically and your hormones specifically. So it's like that to me is the best and right approach, like what you've done, all customized. And it's, for some women, low carb works well, for others, high fiber. Like it really depends on how your body's functioning. So there isn't a one size fits all, which if you think deep enough about it, you'd go, oh my God, how could there be? You're from this part of the world, and it's just so different. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you do. You have a customized approach for each woman. Like it's not a one size fits all. Like you look at her, you look at what is going on in your body, and let's make suggestions, edits, tweaks based on the data. And it's not just what's trending on TikTok. It's not just, whatever celebrity is doing this week. Like it is tailored to your client of like, okay, here's what you're dealing with. This is our plan and this is how we're going to execute it. And I absolutely love that. I wish more women knew that services like yours exist. And I've been spreading the word about every person, every practitioner, every, service out there. Like I've been telling everybody about Faye, which is the app that I use to find my dietitian. You were the second practitioner that I've met that does what you do. And I've loved both of y'all. And I'm like, okay, we got to get the word out there because just because it's common doesn't mean that it's normal. And it doesn't mean that we need to be accepting it as our normal. And we can have the body that we want to have regardless of our age.
Amen. Yes, we all could age so much better. And I think, well, we are getting there. like we're not going to age like our grandmothers did because we know what steps to take now. And so I guess the hope for me is it is getting better. The downside is yeah, it takes a little more work, on the front end, but on the back end, you get to live with freedom. I can guarantee results. It's just a whole different mentality, and I think people are there, honestly. Like when I talk to women, they get it. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I know it's hormonal. I've tried everything. Like I eat a shake a day, for 2 weeks and nothing, so this whole calories in, calories out. I just don't subscribe to that as much. I know that's the way it should work, but I also know I have a woman's body and I've worked with hundreds of women and they just don't have the clear cut like point A to point B results like a guy does. When I work with my husband, who even has a thyroid issue, it's very easy. So I'm like, if I want to take the easy route, I just work with guys because they have a real consistent kind of hormonal, but women aren't that way. And so it's really important to do it this way. So yeah, I love what I do. It's really fun. And I wish more people knew about it too.
Yeah, well, we're getting the word out. We are. So, any last words of advice, tidbits that you want to leave the listeners with? Because this is you got the floor if there is.
Yeah, no, I guess I'd like to just say, if the scale hasn't been moving in the direction you want or whatnot, like don't get down on yourself. Like you are perfect right now. And, I feel like the scale has been such a measure for who we are as people that it's just gotten to a point where, if you want to throw your scale away, like I'm like all good with that. Take photos, do measurements, and reach out. Food is really the key. And it's not about taking away everything you love or retraining your brain on, eat now just carrots and broccoli all day long. It's honestly about like if you know why you're going to eat a certain thing and it's going to impact you this way, you're going to be super motivated to do it when you're losing weight and feeling good. But you got to experience it. So just go into it with a growth mindset and, really, don't be down on yourself. No one has ever got there by, hating their body. It's always about like, I love myself enough to do this for me. So that's my, I guess, my last words for you all.
Love that. Yeah. And I can tell you. I haven't done your program, but I've done a program and I can tell you that when you do it from a place of love, and even if you do start off like I just want to lose weight, like I just want to look better. Once you start doing it and you start feeling better, you want it more. Like you're like, yes, give me more of that and less of the crap that makes me feel like crap. Because you will start to feel a difference. You will start to feel more like yourself and in your own skin. So, thank you for what you do. I cannot, like, I don't know if you can feel my love and my appreciation for you through the screen, but I'm like, yes, 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 because more women need this. They need to know that there's an option out there and that they don't have to continue to feel like crud in their own body. They don't feeling like crud is not normal. It
It
is not. It
it is
is
not.
not normal.
Belly fat is not normal. It is not. And so I don't care if you're 60, 70, we can figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, where can everybody find you? And I will also share all of your links in the social in the description. But where can everybody find you online?
Yeah, the easiest, is tone the number 4 lifemenopause.com. That's my website and you can schedule a call. There's lots of free resources there. And then Instagram, it's just at Andreya Tone. So very easy to find me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will share all of that in the show notes in the description below. So y'all reach out to her. Do not continue to suffer in silence. It's time for you to feel good in your own body. Yes. All right. Well, thank you for being on. And until next week, everybody, be well, be kind, and may you find some joy this week. Bye.